Hello, how is everyone doing this evening? Let's talk about Monster High, the anime. Monster High has been a huge and iconic doll line ever since its launch in 2010, so it's no surprise that its success has traveled all around the world, reaching Japan. This was enough to convince Mattel of Japan to make an anime out of it. I mean, why not, right? The West has movies and webisodes about Monster High, why can't Japan have their own webisodes? And thus, Monster High Kawaii Girls, or Monster High Scary Cool Girls, was born in 2014. Granted, it's only 8 episodes with 3 minutes each, but it's still something. I mean, come on. They even got a J-pop version of the theme song, complete with J-pop dancing. It's a comedy high school show just like the original, but instead with its own anime-style comedy. It was overall just pure harmless fun. That year it was stupid. It wasn't trying to be more than something light to promote the dolls in Japan. But at the same time, they could have made this less irritating. The extremely short length ended up being a blessing. At least all this didn't get old and tired. As it is, it's just some bite-sized batshit entertainment. Only 8 characters are featured. The expected culprits: Draculaura, Frankie, Claudine, Laguna, Grulia, Cleo, Abby, and Spectra. And by extension, they are the only characters even seen, because there are no background characters, just these shadowy figures. They either didn't have the budget or the patience to draw more characters. I mean, they could have just copied some designs like they did with the girls featured, which they almost did with Juice. You can literally see his silhouette sometimes. Clear's servants are featured though, except they're just cardboard cutouts. I don't know, the lack of background characters just made this show feel unintentionally creepy actually. Like there were just 8 of them at the school. Not to mention lazy. They used the default G1 designs as references, but with a few exceptions. Frankie's design had this slight shift, making the red and yellow-ish part thicker and popping out more. The red is also super bright. I do like this a lot actually, but I wish that they gave her red eyeshadow to match the outfit. I feel like the shade of pink they went with clashes, causing a bit of a garish look. She also has this blue bow at the back of her head, which honestly looked pretty cheap. I was actually surprised that in one episode they went out of their way to design a whole new Frights camera action outfit for her, since she didn't have one in the original. In my opinion though, this just looked alright. It was definitely less impressive than Claudine and Draculaura's outfits. The change that was incredibly perplexing, however, was Clear's design, because she is the only one with a completely different outfit. For some reason. Was her original not good enough? I loved it though. What's wrong with it? I don't see what could have been wrong with it. Why the fuck did they change it? Instead, they used the most random option. Her school's out design. I mean, don't get me wrong, she looks lovely, but I don't know why she was the only design that got changed. A lot of their personalities and roles were changed too. But first of all, these aren't well-rounded characters at all. Very, very one-dimensional in fact. They didn't feel like anything. They definitely dumbed them down, acting as vessels for banter and jokes rather than actual people. Anyway, instead of Frankie, Draculaura is the main character, which is the same route G2 took. She is mostly the same character, but just ramped up to a trillion with her stupidity and hyperactivity. It's like she, along with many other characters here, snorted rows of fucking pixie sticks for breakfast. Since she is the main character here, I guess she took Frankie's job of making the cornball lectures about how friendship is magic every now and then. I'ma pause this shit to go off topic a bit, because overall, I always preferred Frankie to be the main character though. Her only 15 days old shtick is a solid concept for a central protagonist, since it makes it very expected as to why she wouldn't know anything, just like how we don't know anything about their world. It also makes it understandable and even forgivable that she would make those cringe-inducing speeches about the power of being nice. or whatever the fuck. It's why I don't get why they stopped making Frankie the central figure after G1. Maybe in the anime version they made Draculaura the main character because she could be more popular in Japan, but this is only speculation on my part. It wouldn't be surprising though. Draculaura fits in with what Japan prefers aesthetic-wise, cutesy and girly, rather than more, I guess, sexy and mature with Frankie. Draculaura also became an exchange student in Japan and got a doll of her in a Japanese fit later down the track. Perhaps this was an homage to this anime. That would have been cool. Anyway, back to the show itself. They subdued Frankie's personality here too, making her pretty shy and quiet instead of the optimistic, outgoing girl in the original, although she still retains being the new girl. And to further propagate my Frankie supremacy, I think that this more low-key nature would have made a solid main character, since it contrasts with the ADHD-riddled energy of the other cast members. Laguna... First of all, well, this was expected since this is a Japanese production, but I'll still have gratitude for them not implementing that horrendous attempt at an Australian accent.
Oh, Gil, don't be such a fraidy catfish. It was one little prank.
Well, stroke my didgeridoo. What the fuck was that supposed to be? Where the fuck are you even supposed to be from, bitch? New Zealand. That's the answer. That's a New Zealand accent, my goodness! Yeah, she just talks like a baby. I mean, hey, you know, at least it's an improvement. Thank you. Her personality here is still chill, but more because she's an absolute brainless tit who can't possibly comprehend what the fuck is going on around her, because her personality is just moisturizer. That's it. Every time she is on screen, she's lathering herself or talking about skin. Everything has to be about fucking skin. She even brought her bathtub to school, for Christ's sakes. In the original, from my understanding, the only time Laguna mentions that her skin needs a lot of moisture is outside of the show. She's a sea monster, so it does make sense. But there's a reason why she wasn't fiending for moistness all the time, because that would have been annoying. Just like here. The comedy here is very gag heavy, and I am fine with this as long as there are slight variations for each joke, and the same gag isn't repeated every single time a character is on screen. But that is not the case here. I think that it should at least be funny the first time, but it isn't here as well. Well, for the most part, because I actually found that Gaulia up and fucking dying the first time was funny, but when this was repeated over and over again, my smile faded. Her character also changed. In the original, she is the brainiac who is shy but talks, but in Zombie, which was moaning and groaning that was incomprehensible to the audience but could be understood by her peers. Here, well, they just said fuck it and did away with all that pesky nonsense, and she just doesn't speak, period. Instead, her pet owl is constantly with her and talks for her. Claudine is less of a cool and confident boss bitch and is instead just as hyperactive as Draculaura. And she's also straight. There's this running gag with her. In the original, she loves meat, which makes sense because she is a wolf, but she didn't froth over it 24/7, unlike here. Are you fucking asking me if it was funny? What do you think the answer's gonna be? She also transforms sometimes when the full moon appears. What does she look like? Good fucking question. I mean, come on, you weren't expecting to see anything, right? They could only draw 8 bloody character models. Abby is less of a girl who struggles to show emotion and can be unknowingly harsh, to peppy and super sweet and cute instead. But what is cool is that Abby is really tall in this version, which actually suits her. I wish they made her this height in the original. I mean, she was already very tall there, but here she's like, what, almost 7 feet? I mean, look at her. Spectra shifted from being sweet, bubbly, but shy to this ominous presence who is completely emotionless. Although she still runs the ghostly gossip, except here it's called Monster Sauce, which is definitely not as catchy of a name, but that is according to the fan subs, since this never had any English licensing. The only character that retains their personality for the most part is Cleo. Ironic, since she's the only ghoul with a design change, but she's not a part of the main clique anymore, instead being the rival of the main four. Well, calling her a rival is a stretch because she barely gets any screen time. She is heavily sidelined here, which is odd to witness because I'm used to her hogging up all the space. She only has an episode, which again is only 3 minutes, and a couple seconds in the final episode. Makes me wonder even more as to why she's the only one with a different design. Some of the plot points themselves were also maintained, inspired by scenarios in the original, more specifically the movies. However, overall the storytelling for this anime was unsatisfying. You might be thinking that that would be a given since the episodes are less than 3 minutes though, but so were the Western episodes, and they did a good job at creating satisfying bite-sized stories. Anyway, one scenario was inspired by Ghoul's Rule, where they get a class lecturing on Halloween, akin to the start of that movie. Oh yeah, they also bypass not having to draw a new character by making the teacher invisible. Yep, very slick there. Then they enter a portal into the human realm, which is located in Draculaura's locker, somehow. Alright then, they get teleported to a costume contest on, like, a Victoria's Secret runway or something. The human world apparently knows about them because they saw them on the internet, and they immediately win. I thought I skipped ahead somehow because I blinked and all that shit happened, but I didn't. Granted, I don't doubt that they would have won. They look fabulous. What do you expect? They have the G1 designs. But this part could have been fleshed out a bit more. I mean, come on. Y'all could have cut out the part of them cooking in the classroom that had shit all to do with anything. Claudine also ends up falling in love with a human guy while there because apparently, they stayed in the human realm for a few days. We, of course, couldn't see any of this because they didn't want to draw more backgrounds or characters. But it turns out that portal only opens on Halloween, and the location they teleport to is random, so it is highly unlikely that she'd ever see him again. She gets distraught, but immediately gets over it because of meat. And yes, that means out of everywhere in the world, they did get conveniently transported to a huge Halloween costume contest where they immediately won. There was also the Frights Camera action inspired episode where Spectra challenged them to walk on a black carpet in order to keep their outfits. They were not allowed to turn around or else they'll get cursed with eternal ugliness, which leads Spectra and the other ghouls to try and distract them because I guess they're just fucking jealous assholes or something. It's actually an interesting concept, and as a matter of fact, I quite liked this episode. Then there was the Why Do Ghouls Fall in Love inspired episode, which was also inspired by the webisode Party Planners 2, where Draculaura thinks her friends forgot her birthday. Super relatable, except for the part where it turns out that they were planning a surprise birthday party for her. It's funny because Laguna, Abby, and Grulia don't have sweet 1600 dolls, so the showrunners here just made them wear outfits from different doll lines that honestly look significantly worse than what Draculaura, Frankie, and Quad where in my opinion, they all bake Draculaura a cake, but they look like they would kill her a second time. Except for Cleo's, ironically. These are just some of the episodes. I know that it may not have seemed like a chaotic, fast-paced, loud, obnoxious, ADHD, hanky-panking fever dream on the surface, but trust me, it is. Each character gets their own dedicated episode, except Grulia, because she is dead 90% of the time anyway, so what's the bloody point? Still has more screen time than Cleo though. Even though the fact that they didn't have any background characters was disappointing, I will say that the animation itself was actually nice here. Okay, It is choppy, with lack of frames that give me a headache. What I mean by nice animation is the usage of 3D animation, which usually gets a bad rep in anime for looking uncanny, ugly, and lifeless. But here, I think it works, because it's subtle, that's why. I mean, I only noticed the 3D animation in the latter few episodes, and it was only because I became suspicious of how seamless some of the movements and changes in perspectives were. The transitions from 2D and blending of both styles wasn't jarring at all, probably because the 3D retained the fucking 2 frames of animation per second. Instead, it was very unnoticeable because the 3D was only used for the smallest of gestures and subtle movements. So that was the very short anime adaptation of Monster High. I'm not saying that the writing for the Western Monster High was immaculate or anything, far from it, but would I choose that over this? Hell yeah. Anyway, that is all. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like what you saw and want to see more of me, I usually review obscure and weird anime. Please subscribe. And if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and comment down below about why that is so. If you dislike this video, the same applies. Go down in the comments, say why that is so. Just don't be a fucking asshole. Yeah. Finn. I'll see you later. Bye. Bye.